Well, I'm going to put this about as simply as I can. Cutting funding to PBS and NPR stations is asinine. Hey, thanks for stopping by to talk about history and life. I'm Aaron Miller, the Desperate Historian. Yeah, that's right. I think that cutting funding to public media is asinine. Asinine's a funny word, isn't it? It sounds like it should be a bad word. It just means idiotic or foolish. I've got to share my opinion on this one. It's granted in my work as an historian, but also my own opinions, which about half of you are probably not going to like. But I can't sit idly by anymore and let things like this happen without me saying something. I have to say what I think is right, even if it costs me subscribers or viewers. If you disagree, that's fine. More power to you. You're welcome to leave your comments, but do so with class, with dignity, with respect. If you believe some people, Big Bird, Elmo, Mr. Rogers, Red Green, Bob Ross, and the appraisers on the Antiques Roadshow are nothing more than a bunch of Marxist radicals hell-bent on destroying our way of life. To some, they represent a threat, so they all need to be taken off the air right away. I guess that some conservative policymakers feel as though NPR and PBS have been critical of their leader, that these reporters on PBS and NPR have a liberal bias, and thus the entire network needs to go. Over the years, I thought that PBS and NPR have been pretty fair, pretty even-handed politically. As a human being, it's impossible to be completely objective. We all have our own ideologies, our own internal biases for whatever reasons, and I don't agree with everything that one person or one station has to say all the time. I even disagree with things that I've said or I've thought in the past. Public media is certainly more objective than Fox News or MSNBC. PBS over the years has usually featured conservative commentators, people like the intellectual William F. Buckley or the firebrand Pat Buchanan, and more recently David Brooks. The McLaughlin Group, which was only on PBS for something like 38 years, was generally a platform for the Reagan administration and then later neoconservatives. My own opinion, I think it's the job of reporters and commentators to question people in authority, especially the President of the United States, regardless of their party. The current occupant of the Oval Office seems to have pretty thin skin. They can dish it out, but they can't take it. Our former president, Theodore Roosevelt, thought it was our obligation to be critical of the President of the United States. Theodore Roosevelt once said, "To announce that there must be no criticism of the president, or that we are to stand by the president, right or wrong, is not only unpatriotic and servile, but is morally treasonable to the American public." I happen to agree with Theodore Roosevelt. Criticizing the commander in chief is good for our nation and is a moral obligation on our part. I think that the documentaries on PBS, on American Experience, a lot of them done by Ken Burns, have been great. A lot of times they've talked about controversial topics, but they've also been pretty pro-American a lot of times. They've embraced American exceptionalism. They've celebrated American culture and American traditions. PBS makes some of the best documentaries out there. I'm watching one right now on Secrets of the Dead about the Nazi thefts of artwork during World War II. It's great. Quite frankly, the PBS documentaries on history are a lot better than anything that the History Channel's got on right now. Instead of cutting funding to public media, I think we should cut funding in other places, like not giving out huge tax breaks to the wealthiest 1%. Or how about this? No more golf trips for elected officials. We are paying, as taxpayers, we are paying their greens fees, we're paying for their security, we're paying for their transportation, their lodging, all for them to feel like a big shot for hitting a little white ball around a manicured green lawn that's an environmental disaster anyway. For those people out there who defend this cutting of funds to public media by claiming that PBS and NPR should be competing in a capitalist system that we have and sell advertising, the last thing I want to do is to watch more commercials. That's why I watch PBS. That's why I listen to NPR, so I don't have to tune into commercials all the time. I don't want to hear the latest ad from a fast food giant. I don't want to hear from an ambulance chasing attorney. And I really don't want to hear the latest promises from Big Pharma with our latest snake oil that they're trying to sell us all. And on a personal note, for God's sakes, Burger King, change your commercial jingle. I'm sick of it. In many markets, a commercial radio or television station is just not economically viable. That's the point of NPR. That's the point of PBS, is to provide commercial-free programs to usually poorer, more rural areas of the country. Without that, they would have no radio station or TV station. Public media also provides critical emergency information during times of crisis. There were some lean times in my life when I could not afford cable or subscription services. I was glad to have any kind of media that I could get through the air for free, but especially PBS. And NPR has kept me company on many long car rides. I love programs like Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me, Garrison Keillor's A Prairie Home Companion, CarTalk. I listened to Mama Jazz on WMUB when I was in Oxford, Ohio. I love listening to those things. And PBS introduced me to some of the great British programs I would never have seen before. Things like Monty Python, Fawlty Towers, Sherlock, Downton Abbey. When I was a kid, we didn't live in town. We lived out in the sticks where the smoke don't bother, as they said. So we had to have an antenna to watch television. And we only got CBS, ABC, NBC, and PBS. And I was really glad to have PBS. I know that many of you out there really have fond memories of watching things like Sesame Street, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, Reading Rainbow. Hopefully, we won't lose all that programming because of the budget cuts, but there will be cutbacks, and it will hurt. It will be painful. If I don't like what somebody's saying on TV or on a station or on the radio, I just turn it off or change the channel. I don't know why that's such a big deal. I don't know why we have to risk losing all of this great programming and education and entertainment just because one person has such a fragile ego, or because that some people of some political parties don't agree with everything being said on NPR or PBS. Quite frankly, I think our current leader is way too obsessed with what's on television. They should be much more focused on helping us with things like education and healthcare and the economy. Well, that's just my 2 cents on the subject. Hey, if you like this kind of content, do me a favor, hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you next time on The Desperate Historian. Thanks for stopping by.